Dave Newell, the referee. Off the face-off, Dave Lewis from his own line. Broken up, breakaway. Leach can't control the puck as it slides into the New York right wing corner. Glenn Resch fails to clear it to the corner, and Leach winds around the far side, picked up by Nystrom. To center ice, jammed right back in again by Jimmy Watson. A delay offside against the Flyers, but the puck comes to center ice. Henning off to Howitt. He fires to the Flyers' right wing corner. Nystrom rides Jimmy Watson to the Schultz to the backboards behind the Flyer net. Puck loose behind the Flyer net. Nystrom has it, looking to feed out, comes out to Marshall, right point. The shot wide. And Leach clears off the right wing boards all the way back to the New York zone. Marshall catches up to it. Clark forechecking for the Flyers. Dave Lewis on the left wing. Dumps it ahead for Howitt. Howitt plays on the right wing, and Nystrom is offside. Face-off will be in neutral ice on the Flyers' left wing.
Some interesting maneuvering. We have Andre Saint-Laurent off Howard and Nystrom, and now Lauren Henning is out for the first time taking a regular shift. And as soon as the puck was dropped with Leach, Lonsbury, and Clark out, Lonsbury left the ice, and Schultz came on that far wing.
Off the face-off, controlled by Dennis Potvin. Brother Jean is not dressed for tonight's game. Terry Crisp, a scratch for the Flyers. Jude Drouin fires from center ice off the left wing board, slides behind Perrant. Perrant feeds up the near side, the Flyers' right wing. They can't move out. Drouin tries to hit Westfall breaking in, but it's blocked off. Along the near side, Dornhofer checked by Jerry Hart as the Islanders try to set up on the Flyers' end. DuPont now reverts back to his own backboard. Across the way on the left wing to Joe Watson, up to Barber, intercepted by Drouin, carries back to center. To Dennis Potvin, back to Drouin, coming to the left side, backhands it inside the Flyers' zone. Picked up by Westfall. Westfall from the left wing, kick save as Perrant didn't have to move a muscle. Drouin in the right wing corner, back to the right point. Dennis Potvin back to Drouin. Drouin tried to hit Parisi, back to Westfall. Drouin's shot is blocked by the Flyers defense. Flyers having trouble getting out of their own zone. Now it's Joe Watson off to Dornhoff from the right wing, and he's off and running through center ice. Drives from the line, hits the backboard behind Glenn Resch to the far side of the rink, and Westfall dumps it wing to wing, but it's intercepted by Bladen, broken up by Parisi. Now Joe Watson retreats inside of the Flyer zone, goes behind his own net, broken up by Drouin, but the puck comes to Bladen on the near side. Now he carries behind the Flyer net, starts out straight up the middle. Bladen to center ice. Looks, fires from the red line, caddy corner to the left wing corner. In quickly to pick it up is Bob Bourne, who's dressed for tonight. This is the first game in the series he's played against the Flyers. Jerry Hart up to Dennis Potvin on the right. He's at center. Potvin ahead for Bourne across the Flyers line. Goes behind the net, but Bourne is checked to his knees by Tom Bladen. Puck is tied up beneath Bladen. We've got a face-off in the Flyers' end.
Young Bourne, who played so well against the Flyers, he's 6'3", 200 pounds. He's a 21-year older. During the regular season against the Flyers, he picked up a goal and 2 assists. And both of those assists were on fine goals by Nystrom, with Bourne breaking in with great speed on the left wing.
Off the face-off, Flyers control. Selesky breaks out on the right wing. Drives from center ice. Stopped by Resch. Almost misplayed it below the glove hand. Now it's Billy Harris out to Bourne. Puck rolls harmlessly to center ice. Ted Harris on the right to Selesky. He's bumped by Lewis. Loses his stick, but the Islanders start back. Harris on the right wing. Checked into the far boards by Lonsbury, forcing the outside against the Islanders.
There's an example of where the great back-checking paid off, as Lonsbury refused to allow Billy Harris with a swift save to beat him along the board. Took him into the boards hard enough to slow down the play and send him Bourne offside.
Bourne on the face-off, drives it back to Dave Lewis. Up to Billy Harris on the right wing, but it's broken up. Here comes Kindrachuk. Drives from, fakes a drive from the line. Now rolls it in. Glove save by Resch. Puts it behind his own net for Dave Lewis. Up the near side for Gillies. Picked up by Billy Harris. He get a breakaway across the line. Shot. With Dave Perrant. Now it's John Bladen. Bladen up the near side for Selesky. Selesky hit from the line side by Gillies. Puck put right back behind the Flyers net again. Now it's Lonsbury on the far side of the rink. He can't clear it out of the zone either. Harris pulls it away from Ted Harris. Centering pass is blocked off. Henning taken down, and we've got a penalty coming up on Ted Harris of the Flyers. It's going to be for tripping. Time of the penalty, 3:36 as we take timeout for this.
3:26 the time of the game's first penalty. Teddy Harris for tripping Billy Harris. Power play up for the Islanders. And in the series, they have hit 2 for 13 against the Flyers. During the regular season, 6 for 23.
Face off to the left of Perrott. Eddie Westfall against Bobby Clark. It comes back to Dennis Potvin on the right. Potvin controls inside the Flyer zone. Barber all over him. Can't break the play up. Jimmy Watson clears it to center ice, but it's right on the stick of Dennis Potvin. Forechecking with the Flyers is Clark. Druin. Rattled. Broken up by Clark. He's across the New York line on the left wing. Holds. Feeds back to Barber. The shot wide. Good setup, but the pass went behind Clark. And Barber had to reach back for it. Now it's Parisi out to center ice. Parisi across the Flyers line on the left for Westfall. Westfall turns in the Flyers zone. Feeds in tight to Parisi. Has to carry behind the net. He's broken up by Jim Watson. Watson out the near side. Off the backhand. Gets by Dennis Potvin back to the New York Islander right wing corner. 1:15 left on Ted Harris's tripping penalty. Hugh Druin winds up from behind his own net. Comes to center ice. Druin winding his way through center ice. Tried to hit Westfall on the right wing. Puck caroms slowly in on Perrott. Leaves it for Jimmy Watson. Knocked down by Bill Harris. The shot hits the board behind Perrott. Jimmy Watson's backhander again. Eludes Potvin all the way back to the New York line. Potvin now checked tightly by Clement. Feeds across in the far side to Druin. Up to Westfall at center. Westfall across the Flyers line. Drops it off for Billy Harris. On the left to Dennis Potvin. Shot. Good puck in front of Westfall. Westfall on the goal. Perrott arguing that puck did not cross the goal line, but the light went on and Dave Newell's right arm went up and it's 1-0 out of it.
Well, they did on the second try. Perrott got his arm across the puck inside, protecting against the goal, but then Westfall followed it up and jammed it in as the Islanders get the goal, as they couldn't make the, Perrott couldn't make the glove save on the first try. It fell in front of him. Westfall swept to the open side, and then Bernie got the arm down in front of the line, but then Westfall poked it under the arm for a power play goal at 4:58. Westfall from Dennis Potvin. And for Westfall, it's his 5th of this year's playoffs and his first against the Flyers. Potvin and Billy Harris. So the Islanders, who came out storming, have made it pay off with the first goal of the game.
And for the Islanders overall, it's their 11th power play goal in Stanley Cup competition. Replay in the monitor was really not all that conclusive that the puck indeed did cross the line, but Dave Newell, much closer to the play, made the call. Here's Bob Kelly in tight. His shot rolls across in front of Glenn Resch. Selesky feeds out in front, but it's intercepted. Here comes Bob Bourne ahead to Gillies on the left wing. Right wing pass. McMillan broken up by Kelly. Puck loose in the Flyers, and DuPont flips the backhander up the near side, but it goes into the crowd and out of play.
Well, that was Teddy Harris's first penalty of this year's playoffs in his 7th game, and it cost Philadelphia again. Perron had the shot, which wasn't that ferocious, in the left glove. It dropped in front of him, rolled to the open side of the net. Westfall failed the first time and then banged it into the net, and the Flyers made a weakened protest.
That's the first game in this series that the Islanders have scored the first goal. Joe Watson across the way at center ice, feeds Kindrachuk. Kindrachuk just blindly flips it ahead, but it's intercepted by Gillies. He's broken up by DuPont at the Flyers line. Selesky, right wing, across the New York line to DuPont. The shot is wide. Rebound gathered in by Bill McMillan on the right wing. He's checked tightly by Kelly. Gets by him, though, to center ice for Bourne. Bourne taken down from behind by Orest Kindrachuk. Gillies backhander, intercepted by Kelly, and he takes it behind the Flyer net. Flyers trail 1-0. Power play goal by Westfall, his 5th goal of the playoffs. The assist to Dennis Potvin and Billy Harris. Puck intercepted by McLeish at center on the right wing. Holds. Fires off the stick of Marshall, picked up by Nystrom. Barber chases him behind the net. The New York net. Now it's Dave Lewis crisscrossing behind the net, and he controls. Lewis feeds to Bert Marshall on the right side. Return pass off the left wing boards, picked up by Dave Lewis. He moves it ahead too far for Lorne Henning and Gary Howitt. Bladen tried to hit Barber, but here comes McLeish behind Nystrom, deep in the left wing corner, up front. Good setup, but Gary Dornhofer had a stick on it, and the puck just caught a piece of the stick and hopped into the seats and out of play.
If Resch doesn't get his stick out there, that could be a goal, because a perfect pass, and all Dornhofer had to do was direct. This, by the way, was the 2nd straight game in which the Flyers picked up an early penalty, only to have Barber and Clark team up for a great goal opportunity on Sunday afternoon, 2-0 with Van Imhoff, and then tonight the same thing. Rick McLeish, who leads the Flyers in scoring with 5 goals and 6 assists and 11 points, is out there.
McLeish on the draw. but it's controlled by New York. Dennis Potvin behind his own net. Into the near corner to our right for Jerry Hart. Up the left wing, picked up by Jude Druin. Druin through center ice. Ahead for Westfall, but it's blocked off by Ted Harrison. Bladen controls. Down goes Druin with Harris on top of him. Bladen dumps to center, but it's right on the stick of Jerry Hart on the left side. Dumps it back inside the New York zone to Dennis Potvin. Potvin up to Druin at center. Lead pass intercepted by Barber. Ahead to McLeish, one-on-one. McLeish closing. Still off the outside of the goal post. The puck is loose in the right wing corner. Barber's there. McLeish is there. They battle for it. And now picked up by Dennis Potvin. Ahead for J.P. Parisi. Too far for him to control. Dumped back in by Bladen, but offside was Bill Barber. 12:32 to go in first period play. It's 1-0 New York.
Against Lonsberry to take him out of the play, then went a little extracurricular in the right wing corner. Picked up the Islanders' first penalty, his 38th minute in the playoffs at 9:33 for holding. Power play Philadelphia. The Flyers in this are 2 for 12 against the Islanders in the playoffs. They're 3 for 22 overall.
Using Clark, McLeish, and Leach up front. Face off to the right of Resch. Cleared between Bladen and Barber. The two-point men all the way back to the Flyers zone on their right wing. Bladen takes it into the corner behind the Flyer net as they set up. Lead pass intercepted by Marshall. Shot, skate save as Perrant was tested right there. Flyers giving away the puck in their own zone. Bladen again starts from behind his own net. Now feeds off to Clark on the left wing. Lead pass intended for McLeish, intercepted by Marshall and flipped back to the Flyers backboard. Perrant leaves it at the side of the net for Bladen. Good penalty killing right here by the Islanders. McLeish ahead to Barber on the left wing. Barber pushes it too far ahead. Taken out of the play by Lauren Heading. And the puck is loose against the New York backboard. Comes out to Clark. Clark fakes the shot. In tight on the far corner. McLeish almost tripped up. He's taken to the boards by Marshall. In to help out Bill Barber in that left wing corner. Barber along the left wing goes. Back to Clark at the left point. The right point, Bladen. The shot. Follow-up behind Resch by Barber, but it went right across the goal mouth. Puck loose in the New York corner, the right wing corner. Finally tied up by Ed Westfall for a face-off. 52 seconds left on the penalty to Jerry Hart. Flyers trailing 1-0 on a New York power play goal. They'd like to get this one back right here.
Billy Barber had the tying goal. It was the off to the right side of Resch and bounced it behind him as he had the angle of the stick wrong for the rebound.
Clark against Westfall to the left of Resch. Dave Newell, tonight's referee. Claude Bichard and Leon Stickle working the lines. Same two that worked in Game 3. The draw goes back to Bladen, right point. Bladen too far ahead for Leach. Clark has it behind the net. Clark comes out of the corner, back to the right point. Bladen the drive. Knocked down and covered by the glove hand of Glenn Resch as he leaped out to prevent any rebound action around the New York Islander net.
That appeared to get a stick on the way in, perhaps that of Westfall or Marshall's. Had flipped and shortened on direction, and it was Westfall. And Resch had to make a quick move to the short side with Leach looking for a rebound. 39 seconds remaining on the Jerry Hart penalty. 9:06 left first period. 1-0 New York.
Flyers go defensive now as they send out Jimmy Watson and Moose DuPont at the points. Clark, McLeish, and Leach remain the front three. Face off to the left of Resch, back to DuPont. DuPont shot through a screen. Follow-up shot. Clark goes wide. Puck behind the net. McLeish has it. McLeish out to Leach. He can't handle it. Jimmy Watson from the left point deflected over the glass, and it's going to be off a Flyer, so the face-off will be outside the New York line.
Jimmy Watson, rather than setting the puck up, gambled that he could get good wood on a roller, and it scooped up high, and Reg Leach got a piece of it deflected out of the rink, and the offensive stoppage of play in the attacking zone forces the face-off into center ice. 26 seconds on the Hart penalty, 8:53 remaining first period, 1-0 Islanders. Flyers on the power play.
Westfall and Henning remain on as penalty killers for the New York Islanders. Bert Marshall along with Dennis Potvin are the two defensemen. Puck comes into the Islanders zone on the right wing, knocked down by the glove hand of Clark. And that's the call, and a good one it was, as Clark knocked it down. Leach picked it up, and anytime you advance a puck in any direction to a teammate with the use of the glove hand, play is automatically stopped in the face-off outside the Islander blue line.
Well, with 20 seconds left and no real opportunity to make a strong power play setup, the Flyers are going back to a pair of defensemen, Joe Watson with DuPont, and they've got Clement centering Barber and Dornhofer.
Henning and Westfall, Marshall and Potvin, the Same 4 on for the Island. Puck loose at center ice on the Flyers' right wing. DuPont at his own line now backs into his zone, feeds across to Bill Clement. Clement has it knocked off his stick. Dornhofer back to DuPont. DuPont through center ice, a bouncer right into the glove hand on the fly, and Rice drops it off for Dennis Potvin on the right. Kept in by Joe Watson. Watson moves it down the left wing boards as we're back to full strength. In front, deflected by Dennis Potvin. Dornhofer taken down by Marshall, and here comes Westfall. Bounces one in on Perron from long range. He makes the save. Loose puck picked up by DuPont. DuPont up to center ice. Up to Clement. Clement across the New York line. Clement on the left wing. Back to Barber. Barber in front. And Resch again made the stick save, then outclassed the glove hand to tie it up for faceoff. 8 minutes straight up left in first period action. It's 1-0 Islanders.
A power play opportunity, had a couple of good pops at Glenn Resch. Like Billy Barber off to his right on the left side of the crease, had a rebound and deflected it behind Resch and through the crease and wide of the open corner, and that was the Flyers' best chance. The goal was one of 3 good opportunities for New York. Harris on a breakaway was stoned by Perron.
Kindrachuk between Lonsbury and Selesky on for the Flyers. Puck picked up by Parisi on his left wing. Across to Dennis Potvin. He's at center ice. Potvin across the Flyers line, but offside. Delay offside as the Flyers move out. It's Jimmy Watson. Puck gets beneath the stick of Selesky, scooped up by Druin. Fires behind his net off the backboard to McMillan coming out, and we've got an obvious trip coming up on Lonsbury at 12 minutes, 24 seconds of this, the first period of play. The second of 3 called by Dave Newell in this period.
In the event there is a game tomorrow night, game 5 of this series, Flyer fans holding playoff tickets should use tickets marked number 5 for the next home game. Ross Lonsbury, who was bumped off by Dennis Potvin, then tried to make a move to cut off the Islander Drew Druin moving up ice, pulled the skates out from under him, picks up 2 for tripping at 12:24, and for Ross on the playoffs, that gives him 6 penalty minutes. The Islanders are 1-for-1 on power plays, and in this series they are 3-for-14 against the Flyers.
Al Arbor goes with Westfall between J.P. Parisi and Billy Harris as his front 3 on the power play. Jude Druin right point, Dennis Potvin left point. Druin in his own zone being checked tightly by Clark. Feeds behind the net to the near side for Dennis Potvin on the left wing. Wing-to-wing pass picked up at center ice by Billy Harris. Harris winds it around the Flyer boards. Perron leaves it behind the net. Now feeds away from the on-rushing Westfall. Jimmy Watson in the far corner. Intercepted. Billy Harris hit the post. Harris hit the post, and Westfall winds it all the way around to J.P. Parisi. Potvin fires, and it's intercepted by Barber, and he's out to center ice on the right wing. He's across the line. He and Clark broke in together. Barber just dumps it behind the New York net. Resch feeds up to Parisi on the left wing, and once again, here comes the Islanders' power play. Druin on the right, back to Potvin on the left. Potvin slowly across the Flyers line, right on the stick of Barber. Barber has a breakaway. Bill Barber across the New York line. He's pulled out from behind, and we have a New York penalty.
That's got to be a penalty shot.
We should have a penalty shot. Let's see if Newell will.
Yes.
It is a penalty shot for Bill Barber.
All right, and Don, in my recollection in playoff hockey, this is a rare number, and there have been 5 of them in playoffs. Barber, there it is, clearly on the break, and was hooked from behind by Billy Harris. And Don, we're going to quickly look into the book because it has listed all of the previous Stanley Cup penalty shots listed, and we're going to try to find it for you quickly. Well, we haven't found it yet.
So it's something you don't see that often in regular season play, and it must be even more of a rarity in playoff competition.
All right, here we go, Don. There have been 5 in the history of the playoffs. Lionel Conacher in 37, the Maroons against Boston. Virgil Johnson in 44, Chicago against the Canadiens against Bill Durnan. Wayne Connolly in Minnesota, April of 68 against Terry Sawchuk. Then in April of 68, Jim Roberts of St. Louis against Cesar Maniago of Minnesota. And then in May 16th of 71, Frank Mahovlich against Esposito of Chicago. And in the history of the playoffs, all those years, there have been 5 Stanley Cup playoff penalty shots, only 1 successful, and that was Wayne Connolly on April 9th, 1968 against Terry Sawchuk. Again, the penalty shot is one continuous move up ice to the goaltender, 1 shot, no rebound. and if you go over the goal line, you lose your shot. And the crowd here is standing, and it's going to be a great one-on-one confrontation. So, John, it's yours.
Okay, the Flyers' very first penalty shot ever, Oris Kindrachuk beat Michel Bellemare at the Spectrum earlier this year. Bill Barber is back in his own zone contemplating this. And once he starts, he's starting up, and he's picked up the puck. In across the line, Resch moves out. Barber fakes him. A shot is tipped out, and Resch makes the big save, and Barber is beside himself.
Well, he tried to pull him out to Resch's right side, and Resch stayed with him and beat him as he tried to draw and hold long enough to get the puck over the downstretch goaltender. Again, Barber coming right up the middle, went to his left, Resch's right, and Resch went down with that right pad and got it in position as Billy Barber failed to get it up in the air, and I think that's what he wanted to do. So there it is. They call that the most dangerous play, and yet, Don, obviously, 6 out of 7 times the goaltender has been the better man. That's only the third Flyer playoff, third penalty shot in playoff history for the Flyers. Billy Clement 2 years ago against Detroit. This year, successfully, Kindrachuk against Bellemare. So here we go.
Face off to the right of Glenn Resch. Islanders control. Harris drops it back to Druin. Druin up to center ice. 52 seconds still left on Lonsbury's penalty. Puck goes all the way back to the Flyers' far corner. Intercepted. Potvin shot blocked off by Van Impe. Kept in by Dennis Potvin. Potvin dumps it into the left wing corner. Parisi back to Potvin. His shot is wide. And Bill Clement leaps at the loose puck, sliding along the ice and clears it all the way back. Resch way out of his net. Has to hurry back. If Clement had gotten a hold of that puck, he had a wide open net to shoot at. Now it's Potvin off to Westfall, can't control it. Joe Watson drills it off the right wing boards. It rides in to the near side of the New York net. Resch controls there. Laser for Bob Nystrom. Flyers will be back in full strength in 10 seconds. Nystrom starts out through center ice. Nystrom shifts to the left wing, across the line. Trailing is Dennis Potvin. Nystrom into the left wing corner in the Flyer zone behind the Flyer net. Now it's Gary Howard. Taken off the boards by McLeish and sent the length of the ice. Resch makes the save as the Flyers are back full. Lonsbury checks Marshall in the left wing corner in the New York zone. Puck comes to the near corner, the right wing corner for Potvin. He's up to Howard. Check from behind by DuPont. Now it's Howard. Off to Marshall on the right. Lead pass at center ice off the stick of Stewart, but here comes DuPont across the line. DuPont upended by Dennis Potvin. Loose puck picked up by Howard. Howard gets by Kindrachuk. Howard out the right side to center ice. Howard through center ice. Slowed down and dumped by Joe Watson. We've got a Flyer penalty coming up, and it's DuPont going off for the Flyers at 15:03.
DuPont showed a little peek for getting dumped at the Islander line and then retaliated and picks up the penalty. 4:57 left first period, 1-0 New York. Third Flyer penalty, a 4 called by Dave Newell. It's DuPont for slashing Gary Howard. DuPont coming up on that right side really took a whack at him in retaliation for Howard's check against DuPont on the previous Flyer rush at the Islander blue line. Well, the Flyers have had a 2-on-1 while they were shorthanded, and Barber missed the net. And a rare penalty shot in playoff action, Resch stoned Barber, and it remains 1-0. Islanders on Westfall's goal.
Face off inside the Flyer zone on the far side. Van Impe dumps it to center ice, intercepted there on the far side of the rink by Druin. Off to Dave Fortier along the near side. He's broken up by Dornhofer. Dorney digs for the puck, taken down by Fortier, and here comes Howard. Howard across the line on the left wing. Wing-to-wing pass. Druin. Druin goes into the right wing corner, right across in front, but Howard was taken out. Another drive by Fortier knocked down. Loose puck in front. Swept to the far corner by Clark. And now Bob Nystrom and Ed Van Impe going at each other right in front of the Flyer net.
I didn't hear the stoppage of play, but Nystrom and Van Impe are toe-to-toe. Ed's got a hold of his hair with the right hand. Nystrom retaliates with his left hand against the back of Van Impe's neck. They're locked. Neither one is throwing punches. They're in front of the Islander net where Hart is off to the left. Now Van Impe has got a hold of the goalpost with his left hand. Nystrom gets a little uppercut in there, and they cheer, but not much of a punch. But they're still in a bear lock. Nobody gets any punches off. Finally, the two linesmen, Stickle and Bouchard, trying to separate them, with Dornhofer behind looking on with Ralph Stewart, still trying to get between them. Now Van Impe throws a short punch against the right side of Nystrom, and still trying to throw a punch over Bouchard. Finally, they're separated, and that should pretty much be it, as Stickle has a hold of Nystrom, and Van Impe is held off by Bouchard. That all happened in front of the Islander net. Now it was Dornhofer and Howard looking at one another. And there they were pushing in front of that Philadelphia net. And Van Impe and Nystrom finally shoved far enough, and off they go. So Bob Nystrom, who's been frustrated in scoring, tried to loosen up a little bit with that, and they may get each 5 for fighting. And now Bobby Clark's over talking with Newell. And Newell immediately went down and pointed to the line, saying, "Don't come over that line, Captain. That's my penalty crease." We have 1:35 remaining on DuPont's penalty, as Bob Clark is now arguing with Dave Newell directly below, as the sticks are being picked up in front of the Philadelphia net, and the penalties will be discussed below. So Van Impe 2 for roughing, 5 for fighting. Howard 2 for roughing, Nystrom 5 for fighting, and a game misconduct, all at 15:28.
Nystrom just now coming out of the New York penalty box. Has to go back for his equipment as he'll head for the rampway across the way to our right, as he'll repair to the Islander dressing room and watch the remainder of the game from somewhere in the building.
Bob Kelly is going to be serving the minor as Nystrom skates off. And that's going to be a totally frustrating and gut-ripping situation for Nystrom. Scoreless now in 14 games. His club back against the wall, and he's got to watch the game's final 44 minutes and 32 seconds from the sidelines.
Well, at least of regulation time. You never know with this club, Gene.
All right, we're set to go with the face-off in the Philadelphia end to the left of Perrant. Now we've got Schultz joining over there with Bert Marsh with Potvin, and he's pointing at Potvin. So Dave is doing a little one-upsmanship over at the bench, and Potvin's just giving him the dead stare. And I think Jimmy Watson's going over to say, "Come on, cool it, Dave. Let's use it for later time." And we've also got Fred Shearer there with his arm on the back of Schultz, and that's one of the rare times you'll see Fred Shearer really get directly involved, perhaps in a visual display of saying, "Cool it."
Don Selesky was the first one to get up to cool Dave down. Then Jimmy Watson came over, and Fred Shearer put his left hand on Dave's shoulder to settle him back. Dennis Potvin never moved a muscle, just stood there staring.
That Howard, by the way, now has 50 penalty minutes in the playoffs, and that's tops for anyone else on the clubs.
Flyers have Bobby Clark as their lone forward. They'll go with the Watson brothers on defense, as DuPont still has 1:35 left on his slashing penalty. Bob Kelly serving Van Impe's minor for roughing. Just started that 2-minute penalty. Islanders have Westfall and Parisi up front. Dennis, Potvin, and Fortier, Druin, as their point man on this 4-on-3 power play. Face-off to the left of Perrant. Flyers trail 1-0. Clark and Westfall on the face-off. Loose puck controlled by Westfall. He goes into the corner with Clark. Clark trying to dig it loose. Jimmy Watson in there, and it comes loose behind the net for Joe Watson. He winds it ahead too far for Clark. Clark does catch up with it. Controls on the left wing at center. Right wings it to Joe Watson, and the Flyers will play keep away. Watson up to Clark at center. Takes it inside the zone. Circles back to center ice on the left wing. Fires back in, but Westfall offside. Waiting in the zone, and Westfall claiming that Clark fired it back in, but you're still not supposed to wait there.
All right, you have to come out.
Otherwise, a man could wait around the fringe of the crease all night long, waiting for a lead pass or an errant pass.
Perrant waved his hand and called over Claude Bouchard. There seemed to be just a little debris of some kind to his right at the goal line. Bouchard scoops it up. All right, 1:10 remaining on DuPont's penalty. He'll be the first out. 1:35 on that to Van Impe, being served by Bob Kelly, and 1:35 on that to Gary Howard. Flyers skating 3 defenders against 4 on the power play.
Clark against Westfall outside the Flyers line on their left wing. On the face-off, it's Islanders control. Islanders have had great success on face-offs, especially Westfall. Now it's Druin on the right to Dennis Potvin across the line on the left wing. Dumps it into the left wing corner. Perrant lets it go for Jimmy Watson. Watson double-teamed, and Parisi has it in the left wing corner. Back to the left point. Potvin through a screen, deflected wide by Joe Watson to the right wing corner. Druin taps it to the backboard. Centering pass out to Westfall. Splits between Westfall and Druin. All the way back to the Islanders zone, and it's Resch forwarding the puck up to Dennis Potvin. Now Westfall on the left wing at center ice. Across the Flyers line. Westfall, top of the slot, taken down. And now it's Druin. Checked tightly by McLeish. Gets it across to the left point. Dennis Potvin in the slot, but Westfall was there. Joe Watson deflected it wide. and it's cleared back to the New York zone. 20 seconds left on DuPont's penalty. Dennis Potvin in his own zone, up to Ralph Stewart, circling up to center ice, to Druin. Left wing pass, Parisi, but offside called against New York.
Well, Parisi had been planted right at the blue line on 2 previous runs, and that time a little anxious preceded the puck in, and the Islanders have tried to pinpoint a couple of passes, and in pulling half speed, aiming them, they've been picked off, deflected by the Flyers, and plays broken up. Potvin usually whips them with good authority. That time, as he tried to find Druin in that far circle, he patty-caked it, and the Flyers broke it up. Earlier, Druin had Westfall at the right face-off circle and fed behind him and went down the ice. 3:10 remaining first period. Flyers going 3 defenders against 4, and they trail 1-0.
McLeish on the face-off against Ralph Stewart now, as Stewart's been replaced. Westfall's been replaced. Islanders control on the right wing. It's Billy Harris at center ice. Left wing pass picked up by Dave Lewis. Across the Flyers line. Tries to roll one in. Blocked out by Bladen. Puck goes into the left wing corner. Harris up to center ice. Picked up by DuPont as he's out. DuPont across the line. Shot is wide. McLeish on the left wing. Dumps it into the left wing corner, but it's picked off by Ralph Stewart. Around to the near side for Marshall. Intercepted by Bladen. Bladen returns it around behind the net. Resch intercepts. Puts it back in the near corner right. The right wing corner in the New York zone as Marshall starts out. 2 seconds, 1, and both teams are back at full strength. Here's Lewis ahead for Stewart, but offside is called as Barber had taken down Billy Harris inside the Flyers line. He could not get back onside.
Well, we've had 9 penalties in the first period, 5 of them to Philadelphia. The 2 of significance. The first of the game, the Ted Harris of the Flyers, which led to Westfall's power play goal and this 1-0 score. And the last run to Nystrom, which was a game misconduct, costing Al Arbor the use of that fine left winger. And despite his absence of goals, he's still a man sorely going to be missed on that near side.
Bob Bourne on the face-off against Rick McLeish, just outside the Flyers line. It comes to DuPont inside the Flyers zone. He skates it out to center ice. Tried to lead Barber into the New York zone, intercepted by Marshall up to Bourne on the left wing. He's broken up by Joe Watson. Now it's Harris on the right wing. Slowed down by Rick McLeish, and the loose puck is picked up, but McLeish is going off for an elbow.
I thought I saw one there, and I was surprised that it wasn't called, but they really came up on Harris, who's now been the recipient of 3 of the Flyers' 6 penalties, and it comes at 17:46. And for McLeish, it gives him his 4th penalty minute. There it was, no question about it, the right elbow up high. And so the Flyers have negated themselves in the first period with a series of 6 penalties. That has left them short on 4 different occasions. One time, 4 skaters to 3. The Flyers had a great opportunity at the 13:24 mark when Billy Barber, while the Flyers were skating shorthanded, picked up a penalty shot, only the 6th in Stanley Cup history, and was beaten by Resch.
So the Flyers go shorthanded. 1, 2, 3, 4 power play opportunities of the game for New York tonight. They've scored on 1 of them. Off the face-off, DuPont clears at the length of the ice. Dave Fortier takes it off his own backboards. Forechecking is Bobby Clark and now Bill Barber. Feed goes to Gillies on the left wing. He's got Bourne breaking with Harris. Gillies across the line, tries to feed ahead to Bourne. He does. Bourne rid of the backboards. Puck loose, DuPont on the far corner. Shakes Gillies, gets the puck to Clark. Joe Watson trips over the Flyers net, winds it around, but it's going to be kept in at the right point. Dennis Potvin shot off the stick and right into the glove hand of Bernie Parent.
Looked like Bob Bourne got a piece of it, and it changed from a medium-speed waist-high shot to a pop fly off to the short side of the net. And maybe Harris was the one who got a piece of that.
I believe it was Joe Watson.
No, I guess you're right. Right off to the left side of the net, and Bernie Parent to make a short move. 1:26 on the penalty to McLeish, 1:40 in the first period, 1-0 Islanders.
Face off to the left of Parent. Bob Bourne, the rookie, against Bobby Clark. Bourne controls back to the right point. Potvin winds it behind the Flyer net. Parent stops it there. Jimmy Watson has it intercepted by Harris as he tried to clear up the left wing boards. Harris challenged by Jimmy Watson. Watson goes down. The puck is beneath him. Face off again to the left of Parent. 1:14 left on the penalty to Rick McLeish, and 1:28 left in first period play. And again, I don't know if you believe in omens, but the Flyers have scored first in each of the first 3 games, which they have won. The Islanders have scored first in tonight's game.
Of course, that was the same pattern in the Toronto series. The Flyers got the first goal in games 1, 2, and 3. The Leafs got the first goal in game 4, went up 2-1. were up 1-0 and then 2-1. Came back from 3-2. And, of course, that one had to go in overtime. The games here this year have been 4-4, 1-1, and 4-1 in the regular season, and 1-0 on Sunday.
Westfall on the face-off against Clark. Loose puck still goes in the corner. Jimmy Watson goes in there, but Parisi has it. Parisi to Druin. Druin can't take the shot as Barber had him wrapped up. Parisi wrapped up by Jimmy Watson. Now it's Druin. Centering pass gets by everyone. Fortier keeps it in at the left point. Left wing corner, Druin. Druin to the right point. Potvin fires. Kicked out by Perrant. DuPont can't clear. Barber intercepts. He's at center ice. Gets it by Fortier, and he's taken down by a hip check. A legal one, says Dave Newell. So the puck is back at center ice. Now inside the Flyer zone, DuPont crosses to Joe Watson. Back to DuPont along the near side. He's on his right wing off the stick of Fortier to center ice. Gets by Bill Clement along the boards. Controls. Feeds up to Parisi. Flyers have 23 seconds left on that penalty. Here comes Druin's backhand. It's wide. Potvin along the right wing boards. Dumps it into the corner. Westfall out to Fortier. His shot blocked off by Clement and deflected to center ice. 10 seconds and McLeish will be back. 23 seconds left in the period. Druin at center ice. Feeds ahead for Westfall. Can't control it, and Clement dumps it back to center ice right on the stick of Fortier. McLeish is back. Immediately checks Parisi, and the puck is cleared by Clement to center ice. Fortier from center ice off the left wing boards, but it's right on the stick of DuPont. He clears it under the stick of Potvin, but icing is waved off. Resch sweeps it behind his own net, and time runs out here in the first period of play with the score. The Flyers trailing the Islanders 1-0.
Right wing against Schultz as the Flyers moving to the left and Perrant guarding the net to our right. Dave Newell signals, drops the puck. They scramble for it, picked up at the Flyer line along the near side by Bladen. Up to Clark, double teamed by both Henning and Marshall, but digs it out nonetheless and drives it the length of the ice down behind the New York net. Stolen almost by Leach as Marshall misplayed for a second from Dave Lewis, but he clears it up to McMillan. McMillan avoids Schultz's check forward to Henning. At the Flyer line into the far corner, trying for a rebound out to Harris off the boards. Leach covers it, forechecked by Henning. Gets it around behind the net through Joe Watson, skates to Schultz. Again, he's forechecked by McMillan and Harris. Or make that Marshall, and Schultz around to the far side, up to Bladen at center ice, too far on the near wing for Clark. Played by Marshall again, but stolen away by Clark. Forwarded on the left wing at the Islander line to Schultz, and he drives it in. Back to the point to Bladen. Sets up a shot. Glove save by Resch, and he hangs on and up. Now we've got Schultz pushing at Burt Marshall, and we've got a misconduct, and Schultz is gone. And they've been asking for it all night, and he picks it up in 52 seconds. He's been jawing at Newell all night, and the Zingo, he picks up 10.
Dave Newell, much like Matt Pavlich, does not sit still and take any guff from anybody. Schultz very angry at the call. Dave Newell wasted no motion, and it comes at 52 seconds. Schultz attempted a misconduct. Bladen, the drive from the right point. Resch made the glove save, and that's when Marshall and Schultz jousted with the sticks coming up high. And that's when Schultz went to Dave Newell and argued why there wasn't something called on the infraction or the alleged infraction. And immediately Dave Newell went to the hips with his hands, and Schultz went out for 10.
All right, we've got Billy Barber reunited with Leach and Clark. Barber was shifted back with Dornhofer and McLeish, and Lonsbury was moved up on that left wing through the latter half of the season. Going against Henning, McMillan, and Howard just outside the Islander blue line along the far side of the ice to our left. Leon Stickle sets up Henning and Clark. We're in the first minute of period number 2, and the score is 1-0 Islanders on Westfall's first period power play goal. Potvin out there sends it up to Henning right up the middle at center, lifts it on the bounce wide of Perrant to his right. He lays it up for DuPont, gives it around to the near side, stolen by McMillan, bumped off by Jimmy Watson, tied up by McMillan. Clark tries to dig it out along the near side, can't get past McMillan. Dennis Potvin trying to go in, and he tried to get inside DuPont, and the puck was kicked by DuPont's skate to center ice, where Clark has it. Tied up in there by Jerry Hart. DuPont rolls it through at the Islander line to Barber, over the line on that far circle. Crosses to Leach. Leach is dumped up by McMillan, and the play comes to center ice. As no penalty is called, Jimmy Watson fires it into the Islander zone after Leach clears out. Controlled by Hart. Off the far side, Henning has trouble with it. Slides it to center where the Philadelphia Flyers control again. DuPont from the right boards at center ice fires into the left wing. Caroms down behind Glenn Resch. With it is Bert Marshall up on the right wing to Billy McMillan. Bumped off by McLeish, and the loose puck dumped back into the Islander zone on the roll by Lonsbury. McLeish behind the net, steals from Jerry Hart. Up along the near point to Joe Watson. Shot on the net as McLeish and McMillan look at one another and outbreak the Islanders. Potvin at center from the blue line. And Perrant, the eye-high save as Joe Watson with a rebound up on the left side to Lonsbury. Back passes. It's deflected, but McLeish is trailing to pick it up along the far wing. Gives to Dornhofer. Dornhofer at the Islander line on the right wing. Gets past Hart, but then Hart dives to take him down. And it is Parisi behind his own net, winding it around to the near corner for Westfall. Back to Jerry Hart. Up at center ice, played by Parisi to Druin. Going against Joe Watson, one-on-one. Cuts through the near side. There's Westfall. And a great save by Perrant and a super setup by Drew Druin as Westfall got inside McLeish. Back comes Bladen at center. Over the line, shot. Catching a piece of Dave Lewis, trickling into the near side where Westfall skates off Lonsbury and the Islanders roll it to center. Parisi with Druin, 2-on-1. Joe Watson back. Druin right in front, and Parisi's pass blocked off nicely by Joe Watson. And out comes McLeish as the Flyers getting a little careless and letting men break out on the wing. McLeish off on the left side at the Islander line. Rips it off the glass behind the New York net as Philadelphia wants to make a line change. Now Parisi's pass. He just tried to tip it. Was deflected by Selesky back into the Islander zone. We still have Lonsbury out there along with Kindrachuk and Selesky. Defensively, Jimmy Watson along with Moose DuPont. Islanders, Parisi breaks in on the right side. Centering pass is smothered by Kindrachuk behind the net. Bob Kelly tries to come out with it, tied up by Westfall, fighting for him along the near side, just inside the Philadelphia line. Islanders keeping the Flyers pretty well penned in as Jimmy Watson with a loose puck behind his own net up to Kindrachuk at center ice. Challenged by Druin, puck stolen away as he attempted the pass for Kelly. Over the line, Westfall, offside. Druin obviously on the right wing. 3:52 gone in a scoreless second period. The Islanders lead 1-0.
Between Selesky and Kelly, Bob Bourne for New York at center. Between Billy Harris and Clark Gillies. Observation, the Islanders are putting two men on the Flyers puck carrier.
Now Bob Kelly breaks, stopped at center ice by Bert Marshall. The Islanders try to play through, stolen by Clement, stolen back by Gillies. Right up the middle at the Flyer line, cuts to the far boards. Pass Selesky, spun around, follows it up into the corner with Van Impe. Kick free to Bob Kelly behind his net. Skated off by Bourne, right out in front. It rolls to Bert Marshall, a shot. Flips over the top of the Philadelphia net as Billy Harris was alone in front. Now the Flyers just jump it out in front. Harris was all alone in front, and the puck just eluded him. Now Clement skates off Fortier on the far side, carries the puck in past Selesky, rolls it behind the Islander net. Resch plays it up on the near side. Kelly takes off his man. Right out in front it comes to Van Impe at the point. With a drive, kick save. Selesky with a shot. It's behind Resch off his pads on the short side, and he just spins around to sit on it, and we have a stoppage of play.
They say 75% of a good goaltender is luck, and right there, Glenn Resch was mighty lucky as he didn't even see that carom come in on him, and he just instinctively dropped on it and hoped it was somewhere in the vicinity. The drive started by Van Impe from inside the blue line. The follow-up shot from Selesky. Resch had his back to it, turned to find it, and just dropped on it in hopes that it was somewhere in the vicinity of his goaltender pads, and he guessed right. 1-0 Islanders, early going of the second period. Flyers trying to get that one back and tie.
St. Laurent, Howard, and McMillan. The Flyers go Barber, Clark, and Leach to the left of Resch. The Islanders get the draw. Hart behind his own net. Jerry's being directed by Resch. Plays it up on the right side to Dennis Potvin. Back to Hart, and on the left wing through to St. Laurent. He overskates at center. The Flyers take it. Billy Barber over on the left side. Shot. Good short side save as Barber is dumped on a good check by Jerry Hart, who winds the puck around behind his own net to Dennis Potvin. Up to St. Laurent. St. Laurent skates, is hawked from behind by Leach. Plays too far for Howard on the left wing. It rolls down behind Perrant. Howard skates by, and Leach on that right side has it uncontested. Pass Clark at center. Too far for Barber. Lifted by Dennis Potvin. Back into the corner to the right of Perrant. It rolls behind the Philadelphia goaltender. Bladen tries to get it out. Blocked on the pass by McMillan. St. Laurent's taken down behind the net. Picks up the puck again. Right out to the far circle. Shot by Hart. Score! Jerry Hart, as the Flyers got careless behind their own net, gets the setup from Andre Saint Laurent at 5:29, and it's 2-0 Islanders.
And for Jerry Hart in playoff competition, that's his first series goal. And the Flyers now face an uphill struggle if they're going to pull out this one and prevent the series from going back to the Spectrum tomorrow night. Time of Hart's goal comes at 5 minutes 29 seconds of the second period of play. Saint Laurent will get one of the assists.
Jerry Hart and Saint Laurent did most of the work behind the net as he stripped the Flyer defense, worked out to the right side and sent it to the point, and Perrant probably was screened and made a late kick. Well, it's the first time in the playoffs that the Flyers have been down by 2. Now Westfall is out with Parisi and Bruin. The Flyers counter with McLeish, Lonsbury, and Dornhofer. DuPont in front of his own net to Joe Watson, lifts to McLeish. Up on the left side, Lonsbury breaks for it at the Islander line. Beating to it is Dave Fortier, who deflects it to Druin. His pass on the carom to Westfall over the line. Up the slot, trying to play through on the left wing corner to Parisi. He's knocked down. Puck controlled by McLeish. Lifts it off the back of his own net to DuPont. Up to Dornhofer. Stolen by Druin. Shot. And that was a kick save by Perrant as the Flyers are getting out-hustled in their own end. And that sets up the Islander plays. Now Lonsbury too far up on the left wing at center ice for McLeish. Played by Marshall to Westfall. Gets past Lonsbury. Can't get past Joe Watson. And it's McLeish with the puck. To Lonsbury with a 2-on-1 with Dornhofer and McLeish. Over the line. Rick in. Sharp angle shot right in front. And it was too bad a pass to DuPont. DuPont has it stripped by the diving play of Fortier. And we've got a 2-on-1. Westfall with Druin. Just Joe Watson back. Druin into Westfall. Tip shot. Great save by Perrant. A super save. As now DuPont plays it up to McLeish at center ice. Over the line. Cuts to the top of the near circle. Shot goes behind the net. Up along the far boards. Dornhofer takes off Parisi. Druin fails to get it past DuPont, who rips it down behind the Islander net. Islanders fail to clear. Now Parisi, interference on Dornhofer, but the Islanders work it out to center ice to Westfall. He's got Druin on his right. Druin breaks for the net. Sharp angle shot, Perrant the save. And it's cleared off by Bernie up to Clement, who's out now with Zaleski, who breaks at center going against Dennis Potvin. He's got a drop pass play to McLeish. There it is. Reading it was Dennis Potvin to take it away and kick to center. Dennis comes out with Gillies and Harris on his right over the line. 2 Flyers back. There's Gillies with a shot. That's tipped by Ed Van Imp up into the end seats and play is called. 12:40 remaining second period. 2-0 Islanders.
Championship box.
Out hustled by the Islanders, and they're going to have to turn the tide the other way if they're going to hope to score.
Harris can't get by. Joe Watson is taken down. Puck rolls in the Flyer zone. Gillies beats Bob Kelly to it and out hustles him. Flyers having trouble in their own end. Joe Watson pokes it behind to DuPont. DuPont up on the far side to Clement, up to Kelly over center down into that far wing. Gillies takes a bear hold on Zaleski and he skates off the play as the Islanders come up to center. Gillies with the puck. Harris cuts through at the Philadelphia line. Gillies on the right wing. Blind pass left side picked up by Harris in the corner. Boomed by Joe Watson and then played on the carom by Zaleski around to Kelly on the near side, although Don was really bumped by Gillies. Clement fires it down to the Islander zone. It skips down behind Resch, and coming out the far side is Fortier playing too far up at center ice for Bourne. Bourne has it slapped back by Van Imp to Kelly at the Islander line. On the right side. Oh, he had a play and then flipped it into the near corner when he had Zaleski and Clement. Zaleski overskates. Clement in the near corner, and again we get a stoppage of play with 8:50 remaining in the second period. And out comes the booze for Zaleski as he gave a little extracurricular work in the corner.
Fred Chero has said there's nothing ever wrong with the system he deploys with the Flyers. It's the breakdown of the individuals playing the system, and it would almost appear that that is the problem right now. A breakdown in the disciplined play, the normal disciplined play that the Flyers win with. They are being out-checked, out-hustled by these Islanders, and they lead, the Islanders do, 2-0 with 8:50 to go here in second period play. Face-off upcoming to the right of the New York net.
I think the thing that you're concerned is the lack of real thrust and attack on the power play when they've had it. All right, we've got Saint Laurent, who set up that fine second goal by Hart against Clark, who's out with Leach and Barber. With Schultz on the misconduct, the Flyers have gone back to an original trio of line. Played at center ice for McMillan. Beats Jimmy Watson to it, but it slides to Van Imp, dumps it back to the Islander line, where Fortier's pass is broken up at center, slips back to Dennis Potvin in the New York zone. to Fortier to Saint Laurent, skated off with the loose puck carried to the Flyer line by Howard. Through, he's going to break right in, and Clark's going to pick up a penalty, and then Howard takes a poke at Clark, and now we're going to get the call, and it's going to be hooking against Clark as Howard got through, and Clark had to grab him to stop that breakaway. 8:23 remaining, second period, 2-0 Islanders.
Odds, there's a full...
Clark goes out for hooking Gary Howard at 11:37 as the puck went into the Flyers' right wing corner. Clark tied up Howard and in so doing hooked him. So the Flyers give up their 5th power play to New York. The Islanders scored their first goal on a power play. The face-off will be to the left of Bernie Perron.
Flyers have had not too much offense tonight, particularly here in the second period. We have a false draw, and we'll try it again as Stewart is centering Gillies and Harris with Fortier left side, Dennis Potvin right. Then Imp out with Jimmy Watson with Barber and Clement, the penalty killers. Game, Mike, you point back when it was 1-0 midway through the first, and Barber had a great opportunity to tie it on the penalty shot. He missed. It kept the Islanders in the lead, and how much smoke that gave. Dennis Potvin from the point. Shot deflected wide. Cleared out along the near side. Kept in at the point. Potvin into the top of the circle of Stewart. He overskates. Back to Potvin. To the side of the Flyer net to Harris. Harris can't hold it in his right wing corner. Tied up by Jimmy Watson. Broken free by the Islanders. Back to the near point. And Potvin was looking the other way as he was breaking to the net, and Harris's pass slid into center ice. Now again they try to go in. And Van Imp's poke check at his own blue line along the far side tips it out of the rink. And with 7:54 remaining in the period, we have 1:31 remaining on Clark's penalty for hooking, and the Islanders lead 2-0, and they have the one-man edge.
Flyers game in and game out during regular season play seem to show more drive left in the final 60 minutes of final 20 minutes of play, and let's see if that's the case tonight. They will wear a team down, and consequently in the third period, although the Islanders have been a strong playoff team in the third period, it'll be interesting.
All right, Clement is beaten to the puck by Fortier as the Islanders keep hustling and beat the Flyers to those loose discs. Isn't that the name of the game? Perron in the near corner. Gillies ties up Joe Watson, dug out by Stewart at the top of the circle, through the crease. Harris couldn't control. Far point, Fortier challenged by Billy Barber. Into the far corner, rolls behind the net. Joe Watson tries to wind it out. Potvin keeps it in at the point. In shallow pass to Harris, at top of the near circle. Slap shot, fake. Gets it behind the net to Gillies. Gillies poked off his stick along the near boards. Holds inside the circle, behind to Harris, back to Gillies, blocked by Joe Watson, who read the play. Harris digs it out again, looking to send it back to the point. In comes Stewart to dig it out, behind the net, out in front. It's poked free. Score by Ralph Stewart. And the Flyers are just hanging, and the Islanders are outplaying them fairly well and got that goal on hustle.
For Ralph Stewart, his third playoff goal, and no team has led the Flyers by this margin in the series this year.
The last time they were down by 3 goals was at Boston, 4-1, and the referee was Dave Newell.
You know, when I heard the announcement of who was working the game tonight, I kind of chuckled to myself when I remembered that 5-1 final up in Boston. And it's, again, a power play goal, the 12th in Stanley Cup play this year for the Islanders. Gillies gets 1 assist.
And Billy Harris the other.
And Billy Harris the other. Well, it's never too late, but the Flyers are going to have to change their ways, as it were, if they're going to start chipping away at that 3-0 lead.
Counting the playoffs, the Flyers are 6-1-2 in this building, and they've allowed up to tonight only 12 goals here in 9 previous games against the Islanders, but they're breaking out tonight. Up comes Marshall on the near side, but the key thing again is that the Flyers are being out-hustled, and looks like they don't have the extra legs. At the point, Bert Marshall. Back passes to the circle. Shot on Perron by Howard. And now the Islanders are getting ferocious. And Schultz and Howard go at it.
And go at it they do as Howard keeps pumping the right hand. And now the right hand of Schultz is loose. This is all happening right down below us. And very foolishly, a fan tried to get involved. Schultz continues to pummel Howard with the right hand as he holds him off. Down on the right wing corner of the Flyer zone, along the near side. Schultz keeps that right hand pounding, and now gets him against the glass, and very quickly moving in is Leon Stickle. And now a fan gets involved, and Ted Harris decked a fan. The fans should stay away and let the players settle their own squabble. When are they going to wake up and realize it?
And that guy should be gone. He should be immediately thrown out of the building. And no, they're just waving him off. You see, that's what's absurd.
And he'll come back and do the same thing again if they don't take him out. They should eject that fan from the building.
But they just waved him off saying, like, go away. And now we've got some more security people coming over. The fight is done on the ice. And Schultz is going to go to the penalty box. And he picks the glove. I don't know what he's upset about. And he's talking to Dave Newell, but he ought to go to the box. Or unless he's been thrown out of the game. No, he's coming to the box. But he went over halfway and circled to the far side. I thought he was heading to the far bench.
Had a few words for the Islanders bench, I'm quite sure.
Garden State brick face.
6:49 Islanders again with a power play. And out there they have Westfall, Druin, and Parisi with Dennis Potvin and Fortier. The Flyer back to Fortier at the point. To Dennis. Closing in at the top of the near circle. Whistling shot wide to the short side, but Ron gloved it to hung on to stop play.
Flyers trail 3-0. 2 of the 3 goals coming on power plays. This is the 6th power play opportunity that the Islanders have had tonight. And this shorthanded situation has nullified any attack that the Flyers might have mounted. Dennis Potvin, a good point man, gets the good drive on Perrant, but he makes the save.
Jimmy Watson out hustle in the near corner. Druin goes down, but Parisi slides it behind the net. Joe Watson is there, or Van Imp. Van Imp on the left side to McLeish, breaking against Dennis Potvin. A shot from the blue line, elbow pad save by Resch. Given away in that far corner to Billy Barber. Barber tried to deke it away. It was stolen once by Fortier, tipped away to Parisi, and Druin behind his own net. Up to Dennis Potvin. Right wings it at center for Westfall. Coming to the Flyer line. Lifts one into that far corner. Catches the stick. Deflects in the air. Parisi's in there first. Takes a poke at it. Then wraps up Van Imp, who glides the puck up against the boards and gets a stoppage of play. With 1:17 remaining on the minor to Dave Schultz, being served by Bob Kelly. 6:06 left in second period action. 3-0.
Really, when you go over the first 1+ period of play that the Flyers have engaged in against the Islanders, really they have mounted no real offensive threat at all, save for the penalty shot by Bill Barber. Regardless of the fact they outshot the Islanders 11-10 in the first period, most of them were from long range.
Kendrichuk gets the draw up to Lonsbury, goes one-on-one with Dennis Potvin. Going at the Islander line, trying to cut to the backhand, and Potvin rides him off back to the near point to Joe Watson with a shot. Nice rebound by Kendrichuk and a great save by Resch. As Orest was in front, tipped it into Resch and then tried to slap the rebound back through him, but the Islander goaltender was equal.
Joe Watson waited for the screen to be set up and then fired, and Kendrichuk tried to lift the loose puck in front of Resch over him, but in to drive Kendrichuk out, the puck was Potvin. And we've got a face-off to the right of Resch. Resch has been super when he's had to be in tonight's game.
All right, play back to the point. Flyers just retreat in their own zone as they have a minute to kill on the penalty. And then as DuPont's challenge at center ice lifts it down into the Islanders' zone deep. Dennis Potvin out there with Fortier, and Bourne now centering Gillies with Harris. The Flyers go Lonsbury and Kendrichuk with Joe Watson and DuPont. Play at the Flyer line along the left point. Gillies has it there. Deeks back to the near side to Potvin at the circle. Right in front, looking for Bourne's tip. Deflected to the far boards. Gillies back to the point. Fortier closes to Potvin. Winds up, shot. And again, they were looking for Gillies on the tip to Fortier in that far circle. Crossing to the near circle, looking for Harris, stolen away by Joe Watson. Up the center. Challenge. Loses the puck to Fortier. Ties him up as Perrant comes out of the net to sit on the puck and stop action in the near left wing corner. Defensively for the Flyers with 16 seconds remaining on Schultz's minor. 5:05 in second period play. 3-0 Islanders.
Time was the goaltender, as Perrant did right there, coming out to smother the puck in the corner, would have called for a 2-minute penalty against the goaltender, but that rule has been waived out. Flyers send out Ed Van Imp and Jimmy Watson, Bobby Clark, and they need one more, and that one more is going to be Bill Barber as he comes back on. 8 seconds left on the penalty, 16 seconds left on the penalty to number 8, Dave Schultz, and that's being served by Bob Kelly. Schultz has already gone to the Flyer dressing room where his penalty minutes exceeded the time remaining in the second period of play. Face off to the left of Perrant.
All right, heading out there with Saint-Laurent on the near side. Back to the point to Dennis Potvin. Shot. Make that by Marshall. Wide to the far point, Jerry Hart. Just tries to lift it into the corner behind the net to McMillan. Near side Saint-Laurent at the face-off circle. Tied up by Jimmy Watson. Rolls it behind the net. McMillan is bumped off by Jimmy Watson. Van Imp tries to steer it around to the near side and does to Clark. As the penalty expires, the Flyers at full strength Clark rips it up through the Islander line looking for Barber. It eludes him the length of the ice. Touched up first by Jerry Hart ahead of Bob Kelly. And we have an icing Philadelphia. 4:40 remaining second period. 3-0 New York.
Back to the Flyers end. Again to the left of Perrott. Clark against Henning.
All right, we're all set. Goes to Ted Harris. Around on the backhand to the far boards to Leach. Leach flits at the center, and Clark flies with Kelly. 2-on-2. Over the line. Leach trailing. Clark wants to hit him. Throws it instead on the net. Blocked by Marshall. Swept back to Bladen at the point. A drive. Good save by Rush, who went down to cover the short side. Played up on the far side by Marshall to McMillan. Down goes McMillan as he's dropped by Leach and then sits on the puck as he had Leach up ice and Clark down ice, sandwiching him along the right wing boards in the Islanders' zone. 4:17 left second period, and the Flyers still down by a trio.
Bladen a good drive from the right point, but Resch covering that short side dropped to both knees to smother the shot and any rebound that might have come out. Resch is gaining in confidence with every game he plays, and he's been the big surprise for the Islanders in this playoff series.
Kelly tries to get the puck, stolen by Parisi. That line's been tough tonight, but the Harris line has been very big. And they've picked up 2 goals. San Laurent, Howard, and McMillan out there. All right, we get a stoppage again, and we'll have another face-off, this time to the top left of the circle in front of Glenn Resch.
Flyer fans holding playoff tickets should use tickets numbers marked number 5. That's number 5 for the next home game at the Spectrum.
The draw goes into the far corner, wound by Fortier, who's played well tonight, replacing John Potvin. And the Islanders cleared up the west ball. He's got Parisi on the far side. The pass is behind him as he was alone. Clark spinning up quickly to Kelly at center ice. Islanders quickly back. Kelly at the line, whistling shot up into the top of the glass area behind the net as that caught Dennis Potvin's stick. Druin up on the far side. Bladen picks it off his stick. Bladen along the near side, trying to lift it on the net to Leach. Leach with a shot. That's blocked. And right into the midsection of Fortier. And perhaps a great strategic move by Arbor, as Fortier's played outstanding tonight.
The Islanders as a team have played outstanding, and that's been the difference as they lead the Flyers 3-0. Great goaltending by Chico the man. Great defense. Marshall, Potvin, of course. I'd like to know what the reason was. I'm sure it's not injury. Why Jean Potvin was sat out. Perhaps not up to the caliber of play that Al Arbor is looking for from his defenseman.
Well, maybe he was looking for more hit defensively. Fortier's given him that. All right, Lonsbury and Dornhofer with McLeish, Joe Watson, and DuPont to the front area. Back to the far point. DuPont, no place to go on the backhander. Dumps it into the area behind the net. Marshall's there ahead of Lonsbury. Plays it up along the near wing. Harris can't get it out. Lonsbury in there with Dornhofer. Dornhofer kicks away Harris's stick, but it's played by the Islanders to Clark Gillies in his own end. DuPont falls down up ice, and that was the reason for the cheer. Stewart deflects the puck the length of the ice, goes behind the Flyer goal, and it hit the side of the crease, and now we get a very late icing call. And I thought they were going to wave it off as it appeared it hit the outer edge of the crease on the near side, but Claude Bouchard finally says no.
Bouchard was the one that had his right arm up. I think it was Stickle that was trying to check and see if it did, in fact, touch any of the crease, which would have nullified the icing call. But it comes back to the Islanders zone. Face off to Glenn Resch's right. Flyers going with McLeish, Lonsbury, Dornhofer. The Islanders have Ralph Stewart between Billy Harris and Clark Gillies.
All right, to the front right of Resch. 3-0 Islanders. 3:11 to go in the second period. The Islanders win the draw. Bert Marshall around to the far wing. Gillies overskates. So does Dornhofer, and DuPont. As back comes Stewart against Joe Watson. Whistling shot wide to the long side. Back to the point. Marshall can't keep it in. Slides it far side away from McLeish to Jerry Hart, and Hart drives it right back into the Flyer zone. Caroms alongside the Flyer net. Lonsbury gets it up on the Carom pass to McLeish, tries to hit Dornhofer at the Islander line. Reading it was Gillies to tip it back to Jerry Hart. Hart tied up in his own corner by Dornhofer. Flyers try to get out. Centering pass, score by DuPont from the right face-off circle as Dornhofer, or make that Lonsbury, as Dornhofer along the left side fired across ice to the circle, and all he did was uncrank and drive it home at 17:24, and the Flyers are on the board and coughed that one up to a great hustle by Gary Dornhofer.
And for Roscoe Ross Lonsbury, that's goal number 1 in this year's Stanley Cup play. It's now 3-1 Islanders. Dornhofer gets the lone assist at 17-24.
Well, now you're within distance. Barber dumps it into that far corner. McMillan skates behind the net away from Zaleski. The Islanders have just had an extra step. They're breaking away. They're avoiding checks. They're coming into the Flyers zone. McMillan drop pass to Henning. Right side pass picked up by Saint Laurent off the boards. Slides it behind the net. It comes back to him. He's out in front to the point. Fortier right side to Dennis Potvin. Backhands it wide of the net. Skipped by Jimmy Watson. He can't control. Saint Laurent centering pass. And McMillan back to the point. It goes to Fortier. He's in front. Lifts one in on Perrant from that far circle. And Bernie goes to his knees to grab as the Flyers are just reaching all night and the Islanders are beating them by that half step everywhere. 1:58 remaining second period, and it's 3-1.
The Islanders go tonight. There seems to be an Islander on them. And earlier in this period, they were putting two men on the Flyer puck carrier.
Kindrachuk, Zaleski, and Barber. Back to Dennis Potvin at the point. Shot wide. Rebound dug out by Henning. Centering pass, and he had Saint Laurent waiting. But it goes to DuPont up to Barber. Fails to clear. A shot by Dennis Potvin is kicked to the near side by Van Imp. And cleared off by Perrant as the Flyers come up ice. Right wing pass from Kindrachuk to Zaleski. Shot from center ice. Resch makes the easy save. Leaves it around the net. And here comes Fortier. And he's been flying tonight. Gets it at his own zone. Up behind McMillan. The length of the ice. And that's going to cost New York as it's caught up to by Van Imp. 1:24 remaining second period. And the Flyers now within 2.
Gary Howard finally comes out of the Islander box as his 5-minute penalty for fighting Dave Schultz has expired. Schultz had an additional 2 tacked on, so he's off to the Flyer dressing room, and he'll be available for action in the third period. Flyers trail 3-1. 1:24 left in second period action. Glenn Resch, cool in the Islander net, has coughed up by one on a great bit of setup work by Gary Dornhofer to Ross Lonsbury.
Westfall, Druin, Parisi, Potvin, and Jerry Hart, and the Flyers have the Clark lineup. They've been really neutralized, but Clark now out with Leach and McLeish. Good run at Westfall by Bladen as the puck rolls the length of the ice, caught up to the right of front by Jimmy Watson, around to the far corner. Parisi steals it away from Bladen. He's got a man out in front. Pass. They lose. They fight for it, but Clark is there to take it away from Druin. Up on the right wing to Leach. Leach going against Hart. He goes inside, but the puck goes outside onto the stick of Parisi to Druin at center ice. Going 2-on-3 with Westfall. Fires from the blue line. Perrant, the eye-high save with that Whistler. And Bladen now gives it up all in the near boards to Clark. Clark pokes it past Marshall, and here comes Jimmy Watson forward to McLeish at the Islander line. Takes through, shot, score! Short side by McLeish, a bullet through the screen, set up by Bert Marshall at 19:21. Number 6 for Rick McLeish, and the Flyers within 1.
And Bobby Clark was the one that started the play. McLeish waited for the Islander defense to go the other way and then flicked the wrist, beat him on the short side. It might have even gone between his legs under the pad. Jimmy Watson and Bobby Clark pick up assists. McLeish's 6th playoff goal. And we have a different hockey game going now. It's now a 1-goal game, 3-2.
Don, did you feel that Rush gave McLeish an extraordinarily large amount of the short side since he was coming in from the left?
Well, he hit him in the number 5 hole and beat him.
Up along into the Flyer zone, 3-2. So the Islanders, who worked for 47 minutes to get a 3-goal lead, now have lost it back in 2. They only lead by 1. McLeish back on the left wing again. Gets past his man, Dennis Potvin. Behind the net in front. It comes to the point. DuPont, no shot. Fires it into the left corner looking for Joe Watson with 15 seconds left. The Islanders out along the far side. DuPont slaps it in, but it's carried out and up ice. They look for Westfall. The length of the ice pass eludes him, goes into the corner behind Perrant. Played there by Clark, tying up Westfall with 2 seconds left in the period as the whistle blows. And we'll have a face-off in the Philadelphia end, which is going to assure us of a 3-2 score as we go into the third period. And just about where we left it at the end of the first, the Islanders by 1. 2 seconds left in the period.
2 Flyer goals within a minute 57 seconds of each other has turned the complexion of this game around immeasurably. Flyers led 3-0, and it looked as though the Islanders were coasting. Then all of a sudden the Flyers exploded. First Lonsbury from Dornhofer, and then McLeish from Clark and Jim Watson. 3-2, the Islanders lead.
All right, Druin with Clark. Leon Stickle drops. It rolls to the goal line as the horn sounds to end the second period. With a score, the New York Islanders 3 and the Philadelphia Flyers 2.
When the same situation existed, the next goal is going to be a most crucial one, depending on who scores it. Jimmy Watson off the faceoff, up the left side, winds it behind the New York net. Jerry Hart goes for it along with Bobby Clark and Bert Marshall. Now it's Billy McMillan starting out the right wing, crosses on the left side to Howitt. Howitt from center ice over the Flyers net, hits the glass behind Perrant. McMillan the rebound on the right wing corner. Now Howitt behind the Flyers net. Broken up by Jimmy Watson. McMillan coming out, puts it to the backboard. And now it's McLeish tapping it by Marshall. He's taken down. We've got a penalty on Bert Marshall. Leach drops it back for Clark, but picking it up is Saint Laurent. So they'll get the penalty, tripping on Marshall, and the faceoff will be top of the far circle in the New York zone.
All right, Bert Marshall for tripping at 38 seconds. Flyers with a power play opportunity against the Islanders. They are now 2 for 16. And they're a better club than that, and with better time now to break out of that particular slump. Penalty number 8 against the Islanders of 18 called by Dave Newell.
And for the Flyers, only their third power play opportunity tonight. It's going to be Clark against Westfall. Westfall and Henning, the penalty killers, on for the Islanders. Face-off controlled by the Flyers, but immediately Westfall taps it to center ice, so the Flyers have to clear the zone. Barber feeds up to Clark. He's checked tightly by Hart, across to McLeish. McLeish crosses, but Leach was already in the zone, forcing the offside against the Flyers. 1:50 left on Marshall's penalty. The Flyers will try to get inside the New York zone, set up, and play for the good shot.
You know, there may be a fine line in these two words, but the Flyers look more anxious, over-anxious than aggressive on their power play. And again, maybe a semantic difference, but nevertheless, one we think we see out there. They're rushing a bit too much.
Off the face-off, it comes to Jerry Hart in his own zone, crosses to Dennis Potvin on the right. Tried to hit Westfall at center ice, hopped off his stick. Now it's Bladen up on the right wing at center to Leach. Ahead to Clark across the New York line. Pulls up short, and Henning clears outside the zone. Tom Bladen gloved it back in the zone, forcing the offside again against the Flyers. 1:34 left on the penalty to Bert Marshall.
There they tried to force it in along the right wing, 2 against 1, and there was no area to move.
Face-off controlled by the Flyers now. At center ice, it's Bladen on the right wing. Bladen across the line, puts it in the right wing corner, but Potvin will be there first. He tries to set it up the near boards, but Westfall bumped off the puck by Clark, and Bladen couldn't keep it in the zone. It coasts all the way back behind the Flyer net. Perrant leaves it for Bill Barber. Flyers have 1:12 left on their advantage. They trail 3-2. McLeish up the left wing at center. McLeish. Flyers went in on Resch. A routine save by Resch. Dornhofer tries to throw it out front, but it's blocked off by Jerry Hart. They battle for it behind the net, and play is called as Dornhofer was locked up with Hart. And we got a quick whistle, and thought for a minute there that there were penalties being assessed to both by Dave Newell, but he lost sight of the puck, and play was halted.
Jerry Hart was leaning and trying to fall, or was sliding on the puck, and Dornhofer tried to kick him out of the way, lift him out of the way, kick past him anyway to break that puck free, and couldn't. 59 seconds remaining on the Bert Marshall penalty. And for that great defenseman for this club, he has now 12 penalty minutes on the playoff year.
Face off to the right of Resch has Westfall set to draw with Kindrachuk. He's flanked by Lonsbury and Dornhofer as the Flyers have 59 seconds left on the advantage. Left point, Jimmy Watson, stopped by Resch as he was screened. On the right wing, DuPont puts it behind the net for Dornhofer. Dorney's got it, gets loose. Dorney now tries the near side in the right wing corner, right out in front, but Lonsbury can't get his stick down, and it's cleared the length of the ice by the Islanders. Perrant leaves it in front of the crease for Jimmy Watson. He scoots behind the net. Forechecking for the Islanders, Ed Westfall. Jimmy Watson shovels the backhander ahead to Dornhofer in the right wing, through center ice. Dorney's across the line, centering pass, Kindrachuk in. Oh, great backhander, great move by Kindrachuk, but a super save by Resch. And now it's Westfall with Henning. Westfall drives from outside, stopped by the stick hand of Perrant. DuPont up the left wing to Lonsbury. He holds inside the Flyer zone, now springs Jimmy Watson loose. On the right wing, Dornhofer across the line. The drive, it's wide. 3 seconds and Marshall will be out. Lonsbury left wing. His shot is wide. Comes to the near side as Marshall is out. And here come the Islanders. Ahead for Westfall. Broken up at the line by DuPont. Now it's Fortier at center from the red line. Now skating toward the blue line on the left, just dumps it around the Flyer boards. Perrant behind the net for Jim Watson. Watson starts out, but we've got an offside called against the Islanders. 17:09 left in third period play. It's 3-2 Islanders.
Point and a break by Kendrachuk when he appeared to have the tying goal on his stick and couldn't get it up. Flyers good effort on the power play.
Face-off control on the Flyers end by Ted Harris. He races to center ice, springs Schultz loose, but he can't reach the puck, and he goes all the way to the backboard. Schultz skated off the puck by Billy Harris. Clement, and Selesky bump hard across the way. Schultz taps it to the backboard. Marshall to the near corner for Clark Gillies. Gillies holds, knocked down and intercepted. Bill Clement across to Schultz, can't get a stick on it. Here comes Bill Harris with Ralph Stewart. Harris across the line on the right wing, trying to turn around the outside. His centering pass goes off the outside of the Flyer net. Now it's Marshall in the right wing corner, intercepted, and the Flyers break out. Clement with Schultz. Clement on the right, across the line. Across for Schultz. The shot stopped by Glenn Resch. Rebound is smothered by the glove hand as Clement raced in for the loose puck, and it was tied up.
Dave's got a bear lock on Jerry Hart's head. Nothing really there. Hart not offering any resistance, and Dave not grinding it in anymore. And then, like the wrestler, he breaks off with both hands in the air, say, look, clean, clean.
16:22 left in regulation time. It's going to be Clark, McLeish, and Leach as the faceoff comes to the right of Glenn Resch. The Islanders go with Saint Laurent, Howitt, and McMillan up front. Clark against Saint Laurent, and the Islanders have been winning more than their share of faceoffs. This time Clark wins it. Jimmy Watson to the right wing corner, but off the boards. Potvin controls, broken up by Clark. Clark back to McLeish, and getting a stick in front was Fortier as McLeish was trying to move in. Fortier intercepts again off the right wing boards. Here comes McMillan up the right side to center ice. Howitt broken up. Leach puts it right on the stick of McMillan. He's across the line. Right wing pass. Saint Laurent. Backhander in front, smothered by Perrant, and he holds on. The faceoff will be in the Flyer zone, and it's going to be in the circle to Perrant's right. Off the faceoff, it's DuPont behind his own net. Up on the left wing to McLeish. McLeish shovels it ahead for Joe Watson. He's cut off by Saint Laurent. Gets it back again. Taken down from behind by McMillan, and the Islanders start out. It's Gary Howitt. Howitt broken up by McLeish, but it's on the stick of Fortier. Now intercepted by Leach. Leach's drive hits the backboard behind Resch, and the Islanders get it right back again. Dennis Potvin on the left, off the stick of Saint Laurent, back to the Flyers end. Watson can't reach it. Picks it up right in front of Perrant, scoots behind the Flyer net. Howitt forechecking for the Islanders. Passes ahead now to DuPont, to McLeish. McLeish flips to the fence. Can't get a shot. He scores! Rick McLeish. And this one's all tied up.
You know, there was the discipline, Don, I think, of the veteran, experienced forward against the goaltender. He held, Rush made his move, came out, and then McLeish held, and at a sharp angle from the left, beat him along the ice to tie this game at 4:38. Busted through the defense, was held up by Fortier, and was about 5 feet from the goal line when Resch dove out, tried to get that stick to cover it, and didn't. Watson the assist at 4:48, and the Flyers have come back from 3 down.
DuPont also got an assist on that, so if you're keeping score, it's DuPont and Watson from McLeish, the goal scorer. Puck goes into the seats across the way, forcing a stoppage. Faceoff will be neutralized on the Flyers' left wing.
McLeish's second of the night, is 7th of the playoffs, and Don, very much like Game 4 of last year's Atlanta final. You remember the Flames were up 3-0. The Flyers tied it in the third.
And wrapped it up in sudden death overtime, and that, of course, came off the stick of Dave Schultz. Kindrachuk locked up with Druin at center ice. Now it's Marshall controlling, as the Flyers are starting to carry the game to the Islanders. We surmise that the third period could be a very interesting one either way. Harris almost draping himself around Druin. Kindrachuk wrapped up by Marshall. Here comes Westfall to Parisi. Back to Westfall, but it slides right under his stick, and Barber clears it to center ice off the near side boards. Lewis drops it back to Marshall in the New York zone. Back to Lewis on the left. Lewis starts out, lead pass to Druin. Druin has Westfall on the right. Pass off the Flyers boards on the far side. Barber cuts inside. Westfall gets control. Intercepted by Parisi. Out to Westfall. He's bumped off, and here comes Kindrachuk to Dornhofer. Dornhofer going on the left wing across the line. Pulls up short, checked off the play. Barber's shot kicked out by Resch. Knocked down by the glove hand of Druin, and here comes New York. Druin with Parisi on the left, Westfall on the right. Westfall's offside, and he doesn't like the call by Claude Bouchard. With 13:57 left in third period play, it's all tied 3-3.
See him and Don, the Flyers got their 2 goals late in the second period, and the McLeish tying goal here in the third within a playing time space of 7 minutes and 24 seconds.
Face-off on the Flyers' left wing at center ice now goes inside the zone where it's Lonsbury controlling, and he comes to center ice. Lonsbury from outside hits the backboard behind the Islander net. Rebound handled by Potvin up on the left wing to Gillies breaking out. Gillies with Bourne and Harris. 3-on-3. Gillies across the line going wide on Van Epp. The shot stopped by Perron on the short side. Lonsbury on the far wing. Overskates it. Misses the check thrown by Gillies. Clement at center. Checked by Potvin. Drops it off for Jim Watson. Watson across the New York line. Top of the slot. Comes to the right side. Jimmy Watson. Backhander in front. Great glove save. Resch, as cutting right across in front was Bill Clement. Selesky in the left wing corner. Now Jimmy Watson goes in for it. Watson back to Selesky to Clement. Back to Selesky. And he couldn't reach the pass, and here comes New York. Harris drops it off. No one there. Finally picked up by Bob Bourne. Sends it around behind Perron at the Flyer end of the ice, and Lonsbury starts out as New York is in the midst of a line change. Lonsbury through center with Clement. Clement drops off. Lonsbury trying to split the defense is taken down by Bert Marshall and Dave Fortier. McMillan off the far wing to center ice, controlled by Joe Watson. Watson off the stick of Fortier. They should stop playing. They do, and the face-off will be in the New York zone to the left of Glenn Resch. Flyers were held scoreless in the first period, but came back with 2 to match the 2 scored by the Flyers in the second period. The draw to Leach. Now off to DuPont at the right point. Winds it behind the net to the left wing corner. McLeish goes for it, but it takes a crazy bounce off the corner boards. And now on the near side, Leach intercepts. Leach in turn loses as Howard breaks out off the stick of McLeish and deflects all the way back behind the Flyer net to our left. McLeish, now it's Joe Watson off the right wing boards for Leach. He's boxed in by Howard. Howard goes down, and Leach has it behind his own net. Up the left wing for McLeish. Just deflects it to center ice. And now it's the Islanders getting control again as Marshall circles at the red line. Jams it to the left wing corner. Karam handled by Perron. Watson to Leach. Back behind the net for Joe Watson. Watson looks for the open man. It's McLeish on the left wing. Wing to wing for Leach. Pass was behind him, and back comes Howard. Howard pinched off the puck by Bobby Clark. And we've got penalties coming up, probably to both Howard and Clark, at least it should be. But only Clark is going to get a penalty. It's going to be for slashing. 11:47 left in third period play. The score tied 3-3.
The second penalty of the night in the Flyers' 11th as he picked up Howard breaking into the Flyers' zone along the left wing, checked him hard into the boards. Howard came up with the elbow a little bit, and then Bobby retaliated with a slash against Howard and picked up the penalty. And of the 11 Flyer penalties, 4 of them have involved Gary Howard.
This is the 7th New York power play. A drive by Potvin rattles out the backboard behind Perron. Left point Fortier. His shot goes wide as he was looking for Westfall on the tip-in. Islanders control. Parisi behind the net, out front. And Druin tripped up by Van Epp. Now it's Lonsbury to center ice. Just killing off time, now decides to break, but he's broken up on a good poke check by Dave Fortier. Back for the Islanders comes J.P. Parisi. Peels it off to Dennis Potvin on the right. Trying to penetrate at the Flyer line. Off the left wing boards. Perron leaves it for Jim Watson. Watson looks for an opening. Barber picks it up. Shovels it ahead for Lonsbury. Breaking is Jim Watson. Across the line, Lonsbury. The shot blocked off by Fortier. Druin controls behind his own net. And back come the Islanders. 1:10 left on the penalty to Bobby Clark. Lead pass on the left wing intended for Parisi. Goes around behind the Flyer net, and it's Van Epp off to Clement. And Clement clears up the left wing boards the length of the ice. Glenn Resch to that far corner. Leaves it for Dave Fortier. Fortier off on the left wing for Parisi. Breaking out. Barber trying to break him up. DuPont slows him down at the line. Loose puck control by Barber. And Barber flips it back to center ice. Fortier passes behind Potvin as Potvin was breaking. Clement trying to break up his former Ottawa resident. Here comes Druin, gets by DuPont. Druin, centering pass, intercepted. DuPont pushed off the puck, but Clement's there to clear it the length of the ice. Both Dennis Potvin and Bill Clement are graduates of junior ranks of the Ottawa 67s. Now it's Dennis Potvin. Good lead pass to Harris. Up the right wing, across the line, around behind Watson. Centering pass intercepted by DuPont. 10 seconds left on the penalty to Clark as the puck is cleared by Dornhofer back to the New York zone. Lewis circles in front of his own net. Up the left wing at center to Gillies. Across on the right to Marshall. Now it's Ralph Stewart taking the pass across the line on the right wing. Holds up. Both teams back at full strength. And the puck comes to center ice as Marshall couldn't keep it in the zone. Now here comes Kindrachuk down the right lane. Straightened up by Dave Lewis, trying to battle for the puck and gets a face-off in the New York zone to the left of Glenn Resch.
Something Freddie Sherwood would point out. You wonder about a team that's tied 3-3 and 3 against 1, and they tie the puck up in their own end. Freddie Sherwood would call that an awfully defensive play for a club that needs a goal. It's 3-3 with 9:31 left in the third period, and it was 3 Islanders to Kindrachuk, and the Islanders chose to freeze the puck.
Face-off controlled by New York. Dave Lewis behind his own net. Starts out the left side, leads Stewart. Stewart drops it back to Lewis. Intercepted by Kindrachuk, but taken away from him by Lewis. Lewis flips it inside the Flyer zone, but flipped right out again by Tom Bladen. Back to the New York zone. Burt Marshall inside of his own zone, off to Dave Lewis on the left. He's at center. Breaking on the right wing is Billy Harris. He fires to the Flyer backboards, picked up by Dave Schultz. Schultz, low bridge by Clark Gillies with the stick right across the bridge of the nose. Now it's Dornhofer coming in. He's tripped up. We have a New York penalty coming up, and it's going to be for hooking. 8:53 to go in third period play. It's tied 3-3.
Up a second penalty of the night, and the Islanders' 10th as Dornhofer threw the puck through his legs, cut inside him, and Hart was beaten and got his hook under Dornhofer's skates and dragged him down. Hart now with 40 penalty minutes on the year, and the Flyers, who are hungry for a power play goal, they are now just 2 for 17 against the Islanders, get a pop at a crucial part of this game with the score tied at 3. And the Islanders now forced to skate the one-man short. Clark out there with McLeish, Leach, Bladen, and Barber.
They've gone 9 power play opportunities in a row now. This is the 10th without scoring a power play goal. That would be a great time for them to come up with one and break that string. Clark between McLeish and Leach. Face off to the left of Resch. They battle for it. It comes back to Bladen. Can't reach it as it really splits between the two-point man and goes all the way back to Perrant. He's halfway up the slot, sweeps it to the backboards for Bladen. Forechecking for New York is Lauren Henning and Ed Westfall. Now it's McLeish sailing through center ice. Passes to Leach on the right wing. Goes to the corner. Centering pass blocked off by Marshall. Now it's McLeish in the left wing corner. McLeish holds there, looking for the open man. Comes out of the corner, holds, now goes back into it again, looking for the open man. Back to Bladen. Bladen can't get the shot away, has to retreat. He's boxed in, now hits Barber in the slot. Shot, tip and attempt as Leach is cross-checked from behind. Bladen penetrates, can't keep the puck in the zone, as Henning hits Westfall at center ice, one-on-one against Clark. The shot right along the ice is wide. Rebounds up the right wing, kept in the zone by Henning, but picking it up is Reg Leach. He's at center. Leach drops it off for Clark. They crisscross. Now dumping it right in the zone and no one breaking for it, and it's cleared the length of the ice by Dennis Potvin. Less than a minute left on Jerry Hart's penalty. Flyers need a goal right now. DuPont up to center ice from his own zone on the left. Fires around the Islander boards. Resch stops it behind his own net, trying to clear, and does. Off the stick of Lauren Henning and Bobby Clark, the length of the ice. 40 seconds, and the Islanders will be back full. Jimmy Watson puts on a burst of speed, hits Lonsbury at center. Lonsbury on the right wing. Dornhofer closing. Dornhofer shot. Glove save, short side, and Resch holds on. The face-off with 29 seconds left on Jerry Hart's penalty will be again to the left of Glenn Resch.
That shot not on net, high and wide of the short side, but Resch wisely grabbing. You don't want that to get by. It bangs off the glass behind you and comes out front the other side. And that's where you get goals scored on you sometimes. But you always want to control the puck if you're the defense in your own end, even if you have to force the face-off. That loose puck around there can cause nothing but trouble. 7:22 remaining regulation play. 3-3 the score. 29 seconds on the penalty to Jerry Hart.
Westfall has seen yeoman-like duty tonight, playing a regular shift, playing power plays, and killing penalties. He's on the face-off with Kindrachuk and controls it. Lewis is upended by Dornhofer, and now it's Lonsbury to the far side of the Islander net, to the right wing corner, Kindrachuk. Kindrachuk comes up the right wing boards, controls, tries to dump it in the corner, but it's cleared to center ice by Dave Lewis. 10 seconds and Hart will be out. Jimmy Watson from the left, to DuPont on the right. He's at center ice. Across the New York line. Here comes the Moose. Can't get a shot away as he's bumped off the puck by McMillan. Henning clears at the length of the ice, and Hart is out. So the Islanders are at full strength. Again, it's Jimmy Watson out of his own zone, ahead on the right wing. Watson, low bridge by McMillan. Now it's Dornhofer. The drive, knocked down by Resch. Almost misplayed it, but it's cleared around the boards along the near side to center ice where it's Ed Van Imp. Van Imp controls for the Flyers. Goes for Lonsbury, but the Flyers are in the midst of a line change, and it's the Islanders breaking out. Lewis at center. Off the near side boards, behind the net. Perron stops it for Joe Watson. Tries to lead Kelly, kept in by Dennis Potvin. Shot blocked by Clement, comes to center ice. Kelly battles him for it, forces Potvin deeper at center. And now it's off the stick of Van Imp, in on Perron. He gives him directions and steers it behind the net. Now it's Joe Watson up to Bill Clement on the left wing for Bob Kelly. The Hound across the line. He has Selesky breaking for the net, but it's blocked out by Potvin. Selesky in the right wing corner. Fires from the corner, but stopped by the stick of Glenn Resch. Now it's Howard, left wing at center. Across the Flyers line on the right wing. Bumped by Joe Watson, enough to shake the puck loose, and Bill Clement rattles it off the backboard along the near side for Van Imp. Up to Kelly, can't handle a pass. Saint Laurent tried to feed to Howard, intercepted by Selesky. Selesky drives, deflected to the far boards by Fortier. Dennis Potvin, lead pass to Saint Laurent. Left wing at center ice to Howard. Howard across the Flyers line. Saint Laurent back to Howard. It's got his puck, but it's intercepted by McLeish. McLeish ahead for Bill Clement. Just over 5 minutes left in regulation time. Clement's drive is steered to the far corner by Resch as the Flyers are in the midst of a line change. Clark and Leach and McLeish back out for the Flyers. Saint Laurent challenged at center ice by McLeish, but gets his backhander around the Flyer boards. DuPont behind the net. Up to Clark on the left wing. He can't handle it. Potvin in the right wing corner for Harris. Centering pass. Bourne can't get a shot away as the puck goes behind the Flyer net. Clark cuts right in front of Perron. He's got running room to center ice with Leach. Taking the pass. Leach fires wide to the short side. Off the glove hand of Resch. Harris ties it up along the far boards. Now gets it loose. Marshall returns it to the near side, and it's Fortier. Up to Gillies. Hops over his stick to center ice where it's Tom Bladen. Bladen tries to hit Leach breaking across the line, but Fortier intercepts. Gillies to Bourne. Doesn't connect. Loose puck now picked up by Marshall. That puck is almost like a hot potato as no one seems to be able to control it. Bladen escapes a Bourne check in the Flyers' left wing corner. Up the right lane comes Clark. Clark flips one in on Resch. He gloves it on the fly, drops it off for Jerry Hart. Flyers playing short shifts now as they have Kinderchuk out there. Here comes Bourne. Bourne across the Flyers line. Stick handling. Still has it. That's a weak shot away, intercepted by Jim Watson. Almost banned on it. Watson straight up the middle at center, across the New York line. Barber rolls one in wide. Control now by Parisi. Parisi behind his net to the far corner for Marshall. Off his stick to Bourne. Bourne taps it to center ice, but Van Imp gets it to Dornhofer. To Barber. Barber can't close. He's inside the New York zone, but tied up by Marshall. Now it's Westfall withdrawing to Parisi. Westfall across the line. Taken off the puck by Van Imp. And back for the Flyers comes Dornhofer. Dornhofer can't get it to center ice, and Parisi wraps it back into the left wing corner. Behind the net, Van Imp up to Bill Barber. He's squelched against the boards by Druin. Westfall tried to center it to Parisi in front of Perron. Now it's Druin in the right wing corner. Centering pass, no one there. Van Imp picks it up. Van Imp lifts it up to Bill Barber, and he's at center. Dornhofer in the right wing. Dornhofer takes the pass. Gets his shot away. Kick save. But right on the stick of Bill Clement, who tried to follow it up on the rebound. Here comes Bladen, the backhander. Loose puck in front. And it comes to the near boards. Dornhofer keeps it in the zone. Goes into the corner for it. Battles, and battles some more. Clement goes into the corner. Puck now comes loose and is controlled by New York. Dennis Potvin starts out. Dorney broke his stick, goes over to get a new one. Here's Druin to Parisi on the left wing. Taken off the puck by Bladen. DuPont picks it up. Up the right wing to Clement. He shovels it ahead for Don Selesky. Selesky across the New York line. Tries to cut inside, but takes a body check thrown by Fortier. Potvin back for New York to Druin to Parisi. Westfall gets back onside. Play continues. Puck goes behind the Flyer net. Controlled by Bill Clement up to Lonsbury on the left wing. He's broken up, but Clement gets it to center ice. 2:12 left in regulation time. This game is tied 3-3. Game 4 of the best 4 out of 7. The Flyers lead in game 3-0. Lauren Henning on the left wing gets by Joe Watson. He's taken down.
And now it's Howard coming off the left wing corner, goes behind the net to the right wing corner. Howard pulls up short, but he's taken to the boards by Bobby Clark, and it's tied up in the Flyers' right wing corner. 1:52 left in regulation time. This game is tied at 3. Remaining here at the Nassau Coliseum in regulation play. We're tied at 3 with McLeish's nodder at 4:48 of this period, the only score. And they played the last 6 minutes like nobody wanted to go overtime. Up and down, caution to the wind.
Oh, I think you're probably right, Gene. Face off to the left of Perrott in the Flyers' end. And here comes Leach. He's taken down by Dave Fortier, and he's going to be going off, and it's going to be for holding. Flyers get a power play opportunity. 1:46 to go in regulation time. The score tied at 3. Time of the killers out there for the Islanders, who've done such a fine job all year long. Ed Westfall and Lauren Henning. Flyers go with their big guns. Clark between McLeish and Leach. Face-off control by New York. Dennis Potvin up to center ice at Henning. Henning on the right wing, pops one in on Perrott. Off his glove to the backboard. That could have been dangerous. Bladen around, but it's intercepted by Potvin. You think New York had the power play right here. Now Bladen gets it back again. Leaves it for Clark behind the Flyer net. Clark starts out. Feeds ahead for Bill Barber. He's at center ice. Cuts to the left wing. Across the New York line. Puts it around in the corner for McLeish. McLeish behind the New York net. Out front. A shot by Bladen. He really shanked that one as he had a wide open net.
Don Bladen had it right there, but he got it off the heel of the stick and just got a chippy shot that Resch was able to cover. But otherwise, beautiful setup by McLeish, and that could have been the game winner. McLeish going behind the net, and he looked for Leach in the near corner, but Bladen broke right in, got the pass right there, and tried to hit the long side and shanked it.
On the face-off to the left of Resch in the New York zone. Flyers on a power play. Leach in the right wing corner. Goes behind the net. Checked tightly by Burt Marshall. Less than a minute left in regulation time. Now Clark has it behind the New York net. Flyers need but one. Clark holds. Making sure that the man is free. It's to Reg Leach. The drive. Kick save. Short side save by Resch off of Clark. And now it's Leach on the left wing. Drive goes right through the goal mouth. And now Tom Bladen along the near side, trying to keep it in, and does. It's Rick McLeish along the right wing boards, on the right wing corner to Clark. Clark back to the right point. Bladen, the shot deflected around behind the net. Clark is there. He's cross-checked by Marshall. Puck comes loose. McLeish has it. McLeish with 22 seconds left in regulation time. Right point, Bladen. His shot blocked by Westfall. Bladen waited too long, and the puck comes to center ice. And it's finally loose as Leach hits McLeish on the left. McLeish closing. Back to Leach. Leach to Bladen on the right wing. Off the boards. His drive is blocked. 2 seconds. One out front. It's a light round. It's a goal. It's a goal. It's a goal. The Flyers have won it. It's a goal because the red light went on and the green light did not. Bobby Clark and the Flyers have won it at 19:50. Wait a minute. We're going to get a talk down here. Let's see. The red light was on. The red light was on. How can the red light go on if the goal is disallowed?
All right, Don, I'm going to say this, that the clock when I saw it was down to zeros when the goal went in, and it's no goal. And I won't argue with that, as Leach got a second try and drove it in, but I'm sure the light went on, the green light did not go on, but Don, I would not fight that, because when I looked up, it looked like zeros before the puck went into the net. And so what looked like a 1959 win for the Flyers will go in overtime.
Well, of course, the question now is these goal lights and clocks are supposed to be synchronized. In other words, if there is time remaining, that red light will go on. If there is no time remaining, only the green light can go on. But the red light did go on. And that will be a question that will be kicked around and kicked around for a long time to come. So we've got sudden death overtime coming up. So
left, Dave Newell drops the puck, flipped back by Lauren Henning deep into the Philadelphia end with 10 seconds left. That should pretty much kill off the Flyers' opportunity to set up on a power play. Jimmy Watson up on the left side to McLeish. Far wing pass to Leach with 1 second left on the penalty. Drop past Clark. Swept it into the far corner by Henning. Clark behind the net. Held off by Hart. Bert Marshall pokes it up along the near wing. As the penalty is over, the Islanders shoot it down the ice by Westfall, and that's going to be it, as it's caught up to by Van Impe. The penalty is over, 29 seconds gone in overtime, and the Flyers will get a face-off deep in the New York end.
Well, Gene, I look at my official score sheet, and I see one line remaining. Need I tell you more?
Yeah. Well, I'm already on page 2 on my bang sheet here.
You didn't get the point. One line remaining. Just enough room for an overtime goal.
Ah, yes.
And let's hope it's in red.
All right, the penalties again. They've been 21, 11 to Philadelphia. All right, Clark will take the draw to Westfall to the right front of Resch and Islanders zone to our left. Claude Bouchard wants the sticks down. They're dropped. Clark pokes it back to the near point. Joe Watson will go backhander. It trickles in on Rush off Clark, and he feeds it off to Jude Druin on the right side. Druin crosses off the near boards. Potvin has trouble with it. Make that Bert Marshall up on the left side to Jerry Hart. Gets over center, tries to play through to Parisi. Blocked off, stolen by Druin. Circles at the red line. Looks, and Parisi tries to get up on the far side, but was sitting on Clark and took himself out of the play at his own at the Flyer blue line. DuPont up the slot to Leach. He's tripped up by Hart, but deflects it deep into the Islander zone. That play starting at the Flyer blue line. Now Kindrachuk is out, along with McLeish and Dornhofer, as Clark and Leach were able to clear off. Druin, Parisi, and Westfall out there for the Islanders as Marshall carries the puck up on the right side. Over center, lifts it to the far side, deep, where DuPont picks it up behind the net. Winds it around to Kindrachuk, held in at the point and then lost by Bert Marshall as the puck eluded both Oris Kindrachuk and the defenseman. Now, McLeish at center ice, comes through the Islander line, tries to sweep by Jerry Hart, holds at the far point, crosses, looking on the near side for Joe Watson. Drive well wide of the net, knocked down by Kindrachuk's glove in the corner. McLeish, he had Dornhofer out front, and Druin made a great protective save and sent it away to Parisi at center ice. Right wing pass to Westfall, tipped by Joe Watson. Westfall has to wait for it. Now plays through to Parisi in front. Druin goes to shoot, scores! And the Islanders win it.
And Parisi was offside on that play, and they didn't call it. No sour grapes, but Parisi was 2 feet offside on the left wing, and they didn't call it.
Well, great play, and that's the guys that'll hurt you, Druin and Parisi. And there was no question about the goal, as Westfall first was stopped at the line, then played through to Parisi left side, to Druin right in front, drew out Perrant, went to the backhand and went high to the net to score. And for Jude Druin on the playoffs' 4th goal, and the Islanders win their first, and the Flyers' playoff string of 8 straight is stopped. Their consecutive string of 21 without a victory is stopped. The final score in overtime, the New York Islanders 4 and the Philadelphia Flyers 3.